So now we're moving on to Maria Perreau, who is a teacher at Otaki College. The idea being that we want to hear from a practitioner. It happens to be a practitioner who's also undertaking her doctorate, but I think that as we move along, we'll start to see the different lenses on this whole idea of what is global citizenship education, where does it fit within UNESCO's remit, and what can we collectively do about it. So, Maria, welcome.
Tēnā koutou katoa. I'm thrilled to be here in this wonderful space with you all this evening, and this really is truly a passion of mine. As Carol has introduced, I teach at Otaki College currently. I've been a teacher since 2001 and an educational researcher since 2013. This evening I'll be drawing upon my experiences of teaching in New Zealand as well as internationally, and my research in the field of citizenship and social justice education here in Aotearoa. I will be advocating that we must approach global citizenship education as part of a broader educational approach that embraces teaching for and about social justice, a process that enables people of all ages to understand their lives and experiences in relationship with the planet, with each other, and the systems and structures of the societies in which those relationships exist. Aotearoa, New Zealand is a democratic society made up of a range of citizens who operate in a global sphere. And these three facets of our society, democracy, diversity and globalisation, underpin our everyday experiences, our values, our actions and our knowledge. They're highly visible throughout the vision, principles, values and key competencies of the New Zealand curriculum. You see here this question, what makes a good global citizen, is the inquiry question that my Year 10 students had to examine in Term 1 of this year. Below that, this quotation from the New Zealand Commission definition of global citizenship education, we see that democratic values and behaviours permeate the statement without explicitly stating that it is democratic citizens the world needs to be striving for. Tonight I question whether this implicit reference to democracy goes far enough. I also argue that human beings are not born with an innate ability to function in democracy. We must learn how to be democratic. It is important to note that while democratic values such as freedom of speech, equity, human rights, education, tolerance, and peace are heralded as foundational to democracy, not all democracies safeguard these rights. Not all democracies actually allow all of the people living in those nations full access to participate in and contribute to democratic processes. Even democracies held up to be highly democratic, such as our own, perpetuate highly undemocratic practices in certain areas and for certain peoples. How we educate for global citizenship founded upon ideals and values that are yet to be realised is a very real challenge and one that must be taken seriously if the aims of global citizenship education are to be met. Okay, so how do we do this? We must ensure that human agency is front and centre. It is within our power to solve complex global issues. This is the message that is of paramount importance to me as an educator, and it's also the focus of the doctoral research I've carried out over the past 4 years. In my work, I ask, how do we move from aspirational statements and affirmations of agency to the performance of citizenship that is not only critically active, but radically transformative? My journey leads me to believe that for transformative change to occur in societies around the world, those citizens must first understand the need for change and then know that change is not only possible, but their actions can bring about those changes. Through a framework of social justice education, we can learn how to bring about a more socially just world. Education about social justice engages people with positive examples of what social justice looks like, as well as exploring what injustices have taken place, why they exist, and how they have been overcome. Social justice education is an ongoing process. It's fostered in formal education institutions such as schools and universities, as well as more informal educative spaces such as community groups and organisations. I ask you to imagine a global citizenry empowered to transform the oppressive structures that prevent fairness and equity of opportunity. Citizens who can, without fear, be critical and analytical of society, how it came to be structured, how the structure works to perpetuate hierarchies of race, ethnicity, class, ability, gender, and sexuality. Citizens who will not accept the normalisation of the privilege and power of some groups over others. This is the power of global citizenship education in a social justice framework. When I began my study in 2015, I knew that it was important. I knew that finding out young people's voices around how they become social activists was incredibly important to me, but I had no idea how pertinent it would be proved to be at this precise moment in time. In recent years across the globe, and as we've heard mention of already this evening from our other speakers, democratic societies, young people have been voicing their concerns and taking action on social justice issues like we have not seen in decades. School children and young people are walking out of classes to show their government how they feel about climate change in action, while some adults and elected representatives have rebuked protests, saying, they want more learning in schools and not more activism in schools. Students still turn out in force, marching through the streets with chants of "This is what democracy looks like." Such actions make me feel proud and hopeful. They provide high-profile examples of what is possible when young people are radically democratic citizens and constructing identities in resistance. People, no matter what their age or experiences, want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to be valued. They want to know who they are and where they belong. The concept of tūranga waiwai emerged as a significant theme from the experiences of the young social activists in my doctoral study. In global citizenship education, we must connect people's local and national identities and experiences to their place within wider global context. Global citizenship education needs to provide opportunities for people to learn and to understand how their experiences are connected to and with the experiences of other people in other times and places. People need opportunities to explore the ways in which systemic privilege and structures of power have impacted upon their own lives and those of others. In this sense, global citizenship education must not only be present and future-focused, but explicitly historical too. Understanding the past is essential to take an action in the present and visions for the future. Another key finding from my thesis is that young people taking social action are navigating towards social justice horizons. I describe these horizons as the imagined futures, dreams and possibilities that motivate, inspire and sustain the young people's social action and their educative projects. These social justice horizons are manifestations of critical hope. Critical hope is not just expressing a wistful desire for something to be or become. It is not merely wishful thinking. It is a feeling with the weight of the belief or knowing that something better is possible, that something described as the possibility of possibility. It's an abstract and yet concrete idea at the same time. It's the ability to imagine and dream that society does not have to be this way, a recognition that reality is only this way because people have created it to be this way. It depends on having a flexible and open stance in and towards the world, a willingness to question and critique, to be curious about what is possible, and to imagine alternative actions. We cannot underestimate the importance of a language of possibility to the project of social change, as Giraud argues. So, in closing, from an educator's perspective, I agree with Freire, who says that it is the responsibility of educators to unveil opportunities for hope, and that's what I argue global citizenship education should do. Kia ora.